Well, welcome and good day, everyone. We, of course, are glad you guys are here again to join us for another Talk It Over. My name, of course, is Ian, and with me today we have Dave. And we're going to have a great conversation, I'm sure, today, as we normally do. We, of course, are finishing our series, The Power to Change.
Yes.
It's been an excellent series, 6 parts. It's been really, really good. If you haven't had a chance to watch them yet, I do encourage you guys to head over to our YouTube channel at LifeNorth.Church. You can like, subscribe, everything will be notified to you, making it simple so you don't forget. And you can catch up on past stuff right up to the current. And if there's something you've missed, you can easily watch it and be right here with us as we discuss each and every message. So yeah, our message title today is You in 5 Years. It's a fairly open
It's kind of
topic.
interesting, isn't it? Yeah, you in 5 years.
It's one of those really open ones. But before we get into that too far, we're going to catch up a little bit here. So how's your week been, Dave? I guess it's been a few weeks since we've had you here, but
I know. It's been a while. You've had a bunch of other people on in the meantime, and I'm kind of out of practice now. Like, oh yeah, that's what happens next. It's been good. I'm looking forward to the snow being gone.
Yes.
So, been out shoveling a bunch more again recently, and kind of hoped I was finished that, but still around, still a good pile of snow. So we got a little bit of that to deal with.
Yep.
And spring is close, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, it is. It's right around the corner.
Somewhere in the next week or two, that snow's all going to melt.
I would think so, yep.
Yeah. And so that'll be good. I'm looking forward to that. And other than that, things have been going quite well. Just digging through all the work to be done and feeling good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, renos on the house have been going good so far. We've been pushing ahead with that. There's some slight delays, but that kind of somewhat to be expected with renovations. You don't always know exactly what you're going to find. So, but still going along really good. Hotel, I'm kind of same on the snow factor. I'm kind of ready to be done with the hotel. Get back to my own bed, my own space would be kind of nice. But we'll be out of that shortly, I would think, in the next couple of
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So I know that you're not go to the beach, go in the water kind of fan.
Yeah.
It's not really your thing.
Yep.
What about the pool?
The pool, a little hit or miss. I'm not in it near as much as Leanne and Emmett are. I would say I'm in about half the time.
Yeah.
But a little bit better. I don't have to worry about the sand, which is kind of nice. So I don't mind that. You get in the water and then my feet don't get all sandy as you get out and all that.
Yeah.
So that I don't mind.
So when you go to the beach, are you one of those guys that kind of rinses his foot, kind of hops and slips his shoes on right by the water?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I put the
Yeah.
shoes on once I rinse. I get in the water, rinse off, and then shoes, and then step out. Yeah, that's usually what I do.
Okay.
But no, it's been good. Having the pool there actually has been handy. Little guy's been working on swimming.
Yeah.
So yesterday we got him swimming without his life jacket actually. So that was a first for him.
Yeah.
And so we were able to do that. The pool was quite busy, so we had just a little space that he could kind of go back and forth, which was fine. So yes, that was good.
That's really good.
It was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the snow. It's been quite a bit. And this time change, holy moly. This time change about going ahead now are just it really throws your whole routine and everything I find out of whack for at least 3 days until you can kind of adjust. But
Now that's interesting, isn't it? Because it's not a significant change. It's just an hour.
It is.
But imagine like that really throws our routines out.
Yeah, it does. And I can only imagine working like shift work where you're switching
All the time.
I just imagine your body just is very difficult to manage all the shifting. But
Because it's interesting that on our spring forward an hour daylight savings time weekend, we're finishing our series on change and habits and right. That's kind of like how that ties together.
Yeah. All the changes, right?
Yeah, well, and we know everybody's dragging just a little bit today.
A little bit. It's
just over an hour's sleep.
But it's amazing. It's amazing what that difference does and how it can really affect you. And even, again, in this series about those habits, small habits can make a big difference, a big change in just our day-to-day lives. Yeah. And Craig goes a little further into detail about those little things and how far they can really make a difference over, not a significant amount of time, but time as it is and really can change us quite dramatically.
Significantly, yeah.
So finishing up our series here today. You in 5 years, again, very open, but quite good. Craig kind of touched on, the habits that you have today shape who you become tomorrow. That's what we've been kind of talking about this whole series, about that direction. A little recap for the past few weeks here. We started out with our spiritual who, then our spiritual why, our spiritual what.
And that's the what is the habit.
Yes, the what is the habit.
The what is the habit.
And then we had the spiritual what not, so maybe breaking a bad habit or something that's negative. Last week was our spiritual how. And
right, and that was train, not try. That's the
yes,
how.
Our training.
Right.
Training, and then this week was our spiritual impact.
Right.
So what does that look like moving forward? How is that going to, again, shape us for tomorrow?
Yeah.
So the three laws of sowing and reaping, and he got into this about we reap what we sow. We reap more than we sow because you look at a tree, you plant one seed, and what it produces. So again, we reap way more than we sow, and God's always all about the multiplying. Yeah. And you reap after you sow. You can't just plant it and take it. It doesn't quite work, right?
It doesn't work that way.
You need to give it time to actually mature.
Well, we've talked a lot in our life group about delayed gratification.
Yes.
And how that's a struggle, especially in our culture today where we want the results now. I want the benefits now.
Yep.
And this whole series has really been about, no, you put in the work now, you get the benefits down the road.
Yep. Yeah, and we've been reading a book as well about that, about storing up treasure in eternity, not here. Yeah. And so I find that kind of interesting how the book has been going along exactly with the power to change. Yeah. It's kind of an interesting way it all kind of put together, which was kind of nice. So of course our lives are the sum total of the small decisions we make. Because one giant decision, it's not, it makes a big change, but all the little decisions over time tend to accumulate to be a big difference or direction change for us. Yeah. It's been good. We don't want to judge the success of the day by the harvest we reap, but by the seeds we've sown. So, when you plant those seeds, you don't know what's going to come up, what's going to be there. You can't say, I planted a lot, so I'm going to get a lot. You have to wait till it actually grows, matures, and is available for the harvest.
But it's that saying, though, that as a farmer, really what you want to measure is how much seed did you put in the ground. Because if you don't put any seed in, you're not getting nothing back for sure.
Yes.
Guaranteed you get nothing if you're not planting.
Yeah.
And so the more you plant, the chance of there being more success from that, it grows, right? Exponentially.
Exactly. And I think that was kind of what Craig was really kind of touching on was that exponential harvest. That we get way more back from what we sow. And what we sow is what we're going to get. So whether we sow something good or something bad, we're going to get something. It just may not be exactly good for us.
Yeah. And how you have to be intentional about starting somewhere.
Yes.
And so getting a seed in the ground means you can get a harvest.
Yep.
And so that effort just to get a seed in the ground, and that's why you have to view that as a success. Because it's delayed, if you can view but I planted the seed so I can see success in the future, that's its own success.
It is.
And being able to reward yourself, so to speak, for that. No, I actually got the job done. I got the habit done. I got it done. And even though I may not see the payoff yet, I will. Whereas if I hadn't done it at all, right, you're not going to get any benefit.
No,
there's no payoff at all.
Yeah, you're guaranteed no benefit from anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so our scripture today comes from Galatians 6, verses 7 to 9. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up.
And you know what I love about that is oftentimes in church circles, we'll take that last verse out of context.
Oh, yes.
That last verse, right?
Yes.
Don't give up. Don't get tired of doing good. And I love that it's actually connected to this whole idea of don't get tired of sowing what you need to sow to get a good reward.
Yep.
That's what you want to keep doing. Keep doing the things, the habits,
the
practices, the little things that you know are going to pay off down the road.
Yep. Yeah, because we can keep doing things and we cannot give up on stuff. But if it's something that's not helpful or positive, and we keep doing it, it's not going to help us, right? No. And then that's what really ties nicely with that last verse into the rest of the verse is just, it's all about, sowing for what God has for you. And doing what God's asking you to do and planting that harvest, not of this world. And
making that effort. It's worth it. It's worth the effort to do those things. And Craig got into that a lot in the message, but I thought that was good to emphasize, like making these small efforts, putting these habits in place, even though it feels like work and you're not sure you're getting anything from it right now, it is worth it in the end. And that's what God's reinforcing in the verse, right? It's going to pay off. Don't give up.
Exactly.
We talk about it in our family from a book that I read a few years ago called The Slight Edge.
Yes.
And so you're either doing the slight edge, which is over the longer term, you're heading up, or you're doing the slow fade. And the habits that you choose now are either leading you on that slight edge up or on the slow fade down. There is no just coast. Like, it doesn't exist. You're either going up or you're going down. And based on our habits, we get to actually choose that for the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all about those small decisions, those little decisions over time, right? Okay, so we're going to dive into some questions here. They're not going to be exact. We're doing a little bit of a little bit off the cuff, as it were. But we're going to stick, general here. In the last 5 years, have you been successful in something? Has something been, successful for you in the past 5 years? I know 5 years is a long time, but
it is a long time. So you pick a few different areas. I like when he did the message, he talked about your spiritual, relational, physical, and financial.
Yes.
And he's like, okay, think about major areas of your life. And so you can just pick one. For me, in the last 5 years, I got intentional with my physical health in a way that I hadn't for quite a long time before that. And so put some small practices in place. Some of them I've done well, and I've kept. Some of them I haven't. But for the most part, it's trended to a really positive place. And so compared to where I was 5 years ago, I've seen lots of success in that.
Yeah, I would be in a similar area with some healthy things, working out, doing things like that. Over the past 5 years, I've certainly been more, I would say, physically active than I was the years before that. And so, we get a little bump in the road there, but get back to it and getting into a regular routine and doing that each and every week's been really good. And trying out something, trying out some sparring at my club, which I haven't done in 5 years. So it's been a bit of a shift for me. But what's been really helpful is the guys there really encouraging me to continue to come. They enjoy sparring with me. Does that mean they like beating up on you? Is that what that is? No, they actually call me a challenge because of my height. It makes it a lot harder for them to get to me because of my leg length. Where some of the other guys they've been sparring with, they can be teenagers and they're 6-8 inches shorter, and it's a lot easier to get at them because they just don't have the spacing. So for the guys there, they really enjoy having me there because it's a bit more of a challenge, and for me, it's a great way to be in a very high cardio workout and really just going full out for about 50 minutes. So it's a good workout, but quite enjoying it so far. My wife says she seems to see that I'm a little happier when I come home from it. So I'm going to kind of keep that as that's a good positive. Guys there are positive, so we'll keep that moving forward and keep doing that because it seems really good. So it's been good. But those areas of spiritual, physical, financial, I don't know what that is for you guys out there, but let us know in the chat. Is there an area that you've really kind of had some success in, something that's been really positive? And let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, so in the message, there was a lot of good pieces. Was there one that really stood out to you, something that really impacted you this week?
I think that one statement that you made about success is about planting today, because I get so focused on success isn't until you actually achieve whatever the big goal is.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's all come to fruition and you've seen that increase, and viewing the planting the seed as its own success. I thought that was pretty powerful. That if I could change my mindset to celebrate the doing of those things, there's another success that comes down the road for sure when you get the fruit from that, you get the benefit from it in a big way. But there is a success in today in planting the seed. Because if you don't plant the seed, you're not getting the fruit for sure.
Exactly. And I know Craig kind of touched on that last week in that similar thought process about, what's a white belt to a black belt. The difference is the hardest belt to get is the white.
Yeah.
It's that starting point,
started.
right? It's that getting started point. Excellent message. There was, a lot of really good points in that message today that he did touch on. For me was his statement about the habits you have today will shape who you become tomorrow.
Yeah.
And more of just a real good reinforcement for me to continue to look in and say, okay, what are the habits I have?
Yeah.
Are these going to be beneficial for me, or are these a bit of a nagging thing, something that's going to draw me away from the direction I need to go, something that maybe it may not necessarily be a negative. It may still be good, but it's not the best.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that constant reinforcement for me of, no, you really need to constantly be looking at the habits, the things that we're doing each and every day, and are they beneficial? Are they going to be helpful later on in life?
Like, what is the payoff from that habit, so to speak? Where is it leading me? Where is it taking me?
Yeah, because again, talking about the harvest, we're not going to see it for a while. So is this habit going to be those small steps moving forward?
And is it taking you up?
Or is it taking you down?
Or is it ultimately going to take you down?
And Craig gave us, again, another part of that was his little two scenarios of two guys, right?
Yeah.
And one guy that increased, drinking his glass of wine to one guy that didn't. And over a 27-month period, the one guy gained 33 pounds and the other guy lost 33 pounds.
Yeah.
And just seeing just that small habit change, the difference of like 66 pounds in a physical standpoint is very large.
It's huge.
And it's just a small thing, right? It's not a big thing. Yeah. But those small habits, those small things we do make a big difference over a period of time.
Changing your spending habits in a small way financially makes a huge difference over the long term. Relational habits, so making a small effort to connect with someone that's a good, solid relationship over 27 months, man, that can really pay off in a big way.
It can.
Or you don't make the effort at all and you actually lose the relationship and you miss out on all the benefit of it.
Yep, all those benefits, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the financial one's one of those ones that we can easily connect to. I know adjusting the budget for me a little bit here and there, moving some things around, has certainly made a difference. It's changed a little bit of where things are going. And it's not saying the budget was bad before, but minor changes have made a bigger difference, right? And just small things. So I've seen the benefits just in those small changes. So,
well, and I think one of the biggest things that comes out of this that Craig talks about is it reinforces the idea that our choices and our habits matter. And learning the skill of habits and how you view yourself can really direct your life. Being intentional about it, being thoughtful about it. Because I think a lot of times what we end up doing is you don't put any thought into it. You just kind of go with the flow in life and not really think about, like, where is this taking me down the road? And if I wanted it to be different, what would I do? And so now we've got some tools to be aware of it. And if you want to be different, you know what to do.
Exactly.
Right? You've got the information.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about, is having that information and going ahead with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go here and share about a time when your hard work paid off. And from that, what are some things you did to be successful, and how did you see God at work in that?
Let me pick a different area, because I see it in a few different areas. I know in my spiritual life, when I was in my 20s, wasn't sure about reading the Bible, wasn't sure about a bunch of things. And so I kind of got out of the habit. I did them when I was in my teens and I stopped and was like, I don't know if this really matters. And spiritually, it really did. It added up over time and I was not in a good place. Wasn't really that interested in church, wasn't connecting with God. And so when I began to add some of those back in again, when I got into my early 30s, really made a huge difference. And so a lot of the habits I have in place now that are very solid about spending time with God, being in His Word, journaling about that, talking to God in prayer, spending time in His presence, worshiping with other believers. Like, I set the foundation for those like a long time ago. And I've seen the benefit of that over the long term and how it just leads up. Didn't you get there all at once?
Yeah.
We were talking at lunch, right? About how, sometimes as kids, you want to be where your parents are
right at the beginning.
50 years down the
Yep.
road.
Yep.
But you can't. It takes time to get there. And I can look back now and go, okay, because I made those choices back then and began to add little things,
Yep.
I am at such a good place now because of that.
Yeah, it's amazing what those small increments really do, and the changes they make over that time period can really affect later on in life and how you proceed in other areas of life as well as what you're working on there. For me, really had the hard work, I think, was just the relationship with my wife when we were in the hospital. That was probably the most current. And I know I've dived into this previous, but this being one of those areas of relationship was one where I saw the hard work of actually putting in the time, living apart for months on end. Certainly can strain a marriage. Again, we saw that firsthand with other families, that marriages are very strained because of just sheer distance, and it just makes it very difficult. So for us, working through that I was like, the habit I need to have is I need to be there as much as I can be, not necessarily for my son, knowing he wouldn't know I'm there at that moment, but being there for my wife to give her the support she needed while this was all happening. Because it would have been easy for me to say, no, it's just too much, I'm just going to stay home and not go see my son or my wife. But putting in the work, the effort, the time to be there, to be supportive, certainly has paid off for us being a lot stronger, a lot more connected in a lot of areas. In decision making, doing things together, what we do, it's really strengthened that. And so seeing God working in that, being a difficult time, still focusing on God and relying on Him to get us through that time in our life was big, and it's made a big difference. So
what would you say is a habit that you started then to kind of survive relationally that maybe you still do today?
I think it would be that effort to make the effort to be there for her, to be connecting with her, not just, okay, we're home, so now it's whatever. It's still continuing to make that ongoing effort to be there and supportive. Not just, okay, things are fine now, so now it's like just kind of stop. I know, again, that can be one of those things that does happen. You put in a lot of work and then you just kind of stop, which it does happen in, of course, different areas of our lives. But for me, I think it's just a continuing effort of just keep working on the relationship, just keep being there and not just kind of stopping.
Because I think a lot of guys get into that, I work on the relationship when I'm pursuing. In order to develop the relationship and get married, and then I stop. And you actually, through this tragic event, learn not to do that.
You got to prioritize it.
You got to prioritize it.
And again, those things that we make a priority, we generally tend to work on and focus on and work towards. And we're making those efforts, those habits, those things put in place to get to those areas. So.
And it's interesting, right? Because if you back that up and think of Craig's kind of main points, it's like, who do you want to be? You want to be a loving husband that's connected to his wife. And the why, what would the why be?
The why would be, that's a good one, the why, because it kind of ties into the why about wanting to be a loving husband. Why would you do that? You'd want to do that because I guess that's what we're called to be. We're called to be supportive. We're called to be loving. We're supposed to be there for them, to support them, to help them in the areas they need.
Your marriage is valuable and you want to invest in it.
And you want to invest in it. Because again, as you said, it's easy to stop investing because, well, I've made it, right?
It's done.
And again, that's with goal setting. Instead of you're trying, not training, right? So you're trying to win this person over. You're trying to get married. You're trying to get the family, and then you get there and you just stop.
I'm done.
You're not training to continue to pursue, to continue to push through. That difference in trying and training is they sound like almost the same, but they're very different in what you're doing.
Different mindset.
It is a different mindset because when you're training, it's I'm going to understand there's going to be some failures, there's going to be some setbacks, but I'm still going to continue to push through. Because I know where I'm headed, I know what I want. And that constant pursuit is always what we're after. We want to continue to pursue and not stop. And that doesn't just go for relationships. That's anywhere in our lives, of course. We want to continue to pursue and go after what God has for us and what he wants us to do. So
the power of intentionality.
Yes.
Be intentional.
Yeah, it's always about being intentional. And again, that's what I think this whole series has really been about, is about being intentional about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And always focusing on what God has for you, and try to block out, the media, things that are trying to force you to do other things or get you to do other things that, may not be awful, but they're not the best things you could be doing.
Yeah.
And Craig, I think, just really emphasized that. And this whole series for me has been excellent about that, just readdressing maybe some of the habits, maybe things I need to start or put in place. Because again, that 5 years down the road, where are we going to be in 5 years? Like, what are the decisions we're making now for 5 years from now, right?
Because your life is your responsibility.
Yes.
Like, you can't 5 years down the road be like, I'm in this place because of that person.
Yep.
No, this is my responsibility for my life. I've got to make those choices. And the choices that I'm making now, even the little ones, are going to impact exactly who I am. And he talked about that. Who you are today, so who I am today, right now, is because of the choices I've been making over the last 5 years.
Yep. So what are the choices now that you're making for the next 5 years, right? Like, where is that going to look?
And if I'm not happy with this, then it was my own fault. I
Yep.
chose those things.
Yep.
And so if I want to be happy 5 years down the road with who I am, I got to choose different.
Got to choose different. And that's exactly it. Yeah, 5 years from now, it's like hard to believe, like, where am I going to be in 5 years? But like, for me in 5 years, my son's almost going to be driving. It's like, whoa.
Dude.
He's going to be 13. He's getting close.
Okay, that's closer. But it's
not quite there, but he's getting close. Like, he'll be a teenager
He's
in
a
5 years.
teenager.
Like, I'm like, wow, that's going to be crazy. In 5 years, he's a teenager, which is like, blows my mind. But
it's a blink of an eye, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It seems like, 5 years, like, those first 5 years were, seemed to take forever.
Yes.
But these last, 4 years have been just flown by.
Living in a hospital most of the time will make it seem like a long time, right?
It does.
It's a struggle.
It does.
And so I can imagine. I know we were down to visit sometimes, and it's just not fun.
Yeah.
So it just stretches it out. But yeah, once life gets into a more normal routine, just like that,
it just
it's gone.
flies by. It flies by. So yeah, those next 5 years, I'm kind of looking at, like, what's that going to look like with some of the decisions I'm making now?
Yes.
Am I going to be happy with some of those decisions in 5 years? Are those what I need to be doing?
Yeah.
Or do I need to, maybe get rid of that to try putting something else in place that's going to be better for me, to get me into, again, a better place than I am now? And that's, of course, what we want to be doing. We want to be getting into a better place, not staying, stale in the direction. We want to continue to improve and get better.
Well, and Craig did a good job of saying, at least think of those 4 areas.
Yes.
Spiritually, financially, relationally, and physically. Like, those are significant. At least think of those ones. And if you'll be a little bit intentional about those areas, when you get 5 years down the road, if those have improved, you're in a good place.
You've made that improvement, right?
Yeah,
so
that's something to celebrate.
It is certainly something to celebrate, and certainly something you always want to be working towards. Let us know, guys, in that chat, what does that look like? Is there a habit you guys have thinking about started, or maybe there's one you need to let go of and put a better one in place for what that's going to look for you guys in 5 years? Like, what's that going to look like? Are you happy where you are now from the choices you made, or are you not? And you want to make a change to be better in 5 years? Please let us know in the chat. We, of course, would love to hear from you guys, because it's always great to get everybody's input and different perspectives. It's always nice to hear that, because that can make a difference for us too. So, but of course, we are coming to the end of our time here, and man, it just flies. We talk about time flying. It does just fly by.
It does.
So we, of course, want to thank you guys for joining us again this week for another great Talk It Over. We, of course, invite you to come back next week for another one as we start our new series. Should be really good. Looking forward to it.
Talk about miracles.
Miracles. And it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. And again, if you guys haven't yet, please subscribe on the YouTube. You get your notifications. LifeNorth.Church. It's a great place to get all that information, all the messages, everything you need is all right there. And of course, you'll be notified, so you don't have to remember, because I know I would forget. So those notifications are very handy. We want to thank the tech guys behind us, of course, for making this all possible and getting it available to you guys each and every week. So with that, we want to remember, whoever finds God finds life.